Welcome to week 2 of 30 Days of Death Records. We're starting this week with a record that you're more likely to find in collections that predate statewide registration of deaths. A death return can include both a physician's certificate and an undertaker's certificate. Before statewide registration of deaths became mandatory in the early 1900s, different towns and counties had their own systems for how they recorded deaths. In Philadelphia, for example, where some of my ancestors were living, they established a board of health in April of 1803, recording deaths of its residents in cemetery returns, and death certificates. By 1860, Philadelphia passed a law specifying that all deaths must be recorded and in a more structured way. Records like this physician's certificate for my fourth great-grandpa, Enos Wright, who died July 28, 1866, at the age of 45. He was still married when he died, and his cause of death tells us that he died of tuberculosis. His physician's name and address are given, and then below that we see the portion for the undertaker's certificate, where again we can get much more than just the name and address of the undertaker. We learn that Enos was a tailor, that he was born in Chester County, Pennsylvania, and this bit of information was crucial for me to find because it's been the only indication of where he was born in any record for him. And with this information, I was then able to identify his parents, my fifth great-grandparents, and his siblings. Also provided on the physician's certificate is Enos's residence at the time of his death, along with the date and location of his burial. I learned that this abbreviation, OFC, stands for Oddfellows Cemetery, which was a 32-acre cemetery that was established in 1849 by a fraternal organization called Oddfellows for the burial of their members. Sadly, the cemetery was demolished once the land was purchased by the Philadelphia Housing Authority about a century later in 1951 for a high-rise building project and a school. It was said that the bodies were moved to one of two other cemeteries that were owned by Oddfellows at the time. However, when the school was doing renovations on their playground in 2013, headstones, coffins, and remains were discovered of at least 28 people left behind, sparking an investigation into just how many of the estimated 65 to 85,000 buried at Oddfellows Cemetery were actually moved as promised. If you want to know what happened to my fourth great-grandpa's grave, come back tomorrow for day 9. See you then.